I was helping my neighbor with weeding last summer, and she started asking me about how to clear out all the fallen twigs and leaves around her plants, the ones she didn't want to pull out. What I told her was, it's not necessary. Fallen twigs and leaves should be left where they fall. They're nature's way of returning nutrients to the soil. She was quite relieved by that, as she wasn't looking forward to all that raking around the shrubs and flowers and risking doing damage to them. Also, it would have been a lot of work no matter what. I see a lot of people around my neighborhood in the autumn, since I live in a temperate, deciduous forest region, raking up the leaves from their lawn and putting them into paper bags to be shipped off by those lawn waste removal people. Not necessary. Once again, fallen leaves and twigs and fruit and any dead plant material really is nature's way of recycling nutrients back into the soil to sustain the next season or year or generation of plants. It is natural fertilizer without the need to import anything. That stuff should just be left where it falls. As for mowing the lawn, which I know there are laws about how high your grass can grow and thus you're required to mow your lawn from time to time, there are lawnmowers that will cut up the material they take in and leave it behind in tiny pieces so that your grass is still cut, but nothing is actually collected and bagged to be sent off. Mulching mowers. Or just as easily, really, if you do use a mower that collects the plant material, just take that and disperse it over your lawn again. Maybe wherever on your land you have a forest or wild growing area. This is why composts make such great soil. The discarded food and weed material fills the soil with nutrients that stuff contained. It's as simple as that. When I was a little kid, I had the idea that was reinforced by all these home and lawn commercials and TV shows and things like that taking care of a yard meant cutting the grass regularly, weeding the garden, collecting all the dead plant material and sending it away, watering the lawn, buying and spreading fertilizer to make the lawn healthy. No. That is absolutely not how it works. Except for weeding the garden, which is still a good thing to do from time to time, almost none of that is necessary. I mean, yeah, you still need to mow the lawn, but again, just return the dead plant material to the soil. And if you have things like prairie grasses and wildflowers growing on your lawn, you probably won't be made to mow that, because if there's stuff besides grass there, then you can actually call it a meadow, not a lawn. As for watering, it's really a better idea to allow your plants to be used to the normal climate and rainfall of your region. Now, when you are planting seeds or bulbs or trees, a little watering now and then to get them started is fine. Get them stimulated, that makes sense. Also, if you're trying to grow fruits or vegetables, then watering them a little extra now and then is also fine, especially if you live in a region with not much rainfall. But watering a lawn that's just full of grass and even shrubs and flowers with a sprinkler throughout the summer, all that actually does is cause the plants to acclimate to an artificial microclimate of more moisture than is actually natural, meaning they'll become dependent on it, and ultimately it's just wasting water. If your grass turns brown in the middle of the summer or at some other point in the year, that usually means it's not dying, it's just gone dormant for some time, and it's supposed to. Unless you have some reason to believe there's something very wrong with your soil, you should just let it be. Your grass and the plants around your house, unless you have something exotic, in which case it does have different needs, evolved and acclimated to the native soil and climate conditions of your region, which means they don't need anything extra. Let's talk about Weeden Bug Killers. It's usually not a good idea to use these. The soil needs insects and worms and all those other microorganisms crawling around inside it. Of course, if they start coming into your house, then you need to do something. But in the soil is where they're supposed to be. Again, these creatures evolved to be part of the ecosystem of your region. These chemicals stay on the plants and in the soil after you use them, and often they kill creatures besides the ones you're trying to target. Not good for the ecosystem. Many of them are also poisonous to humans, pets, and wildlife. I would not feel comfortable with my pets or children playing in the yard that's been chemicaled. I'm sure there are varieties designed to only target specific target organisms, but I still don't like them. Also, there's a process called bioaccumulation. What that is it's the buildup of a substance within an organism that is feeding on food items, be they plants or animals, that have said substance in them. For example, say you want to kill ants in your yard for whatever reason. Most ants are harmless unless you live in a region where army ants live. But say you want to kill ants. You fill an anthill with ant killer. But the thing is, this stuff also gets into the ladybug, doodlebug, and earthworm population. Now, each of those little critters only has a tiny amount of the chemical inside them, but songbirds, who eat bugs like those, are taking in the combined concentration of what each of those bugs had inside them combined. Then predators, like crows and hawks, who prey on the songbirds, take into their bodies the combined amount of pesticide that all the songbirds took in from all of the bugs they ate combined, accumulated. Bioaccumulation. Remember DDT? This is exactly what happened with DDT. This is how the chemical got into the larger animals and caused problems, eventually even in humans. Even fertilizer can end up being destructive to the ecosystem. Now, how can that be? A fertilizer is supposed to be good stuff for plants, yes? Well, here's the thing. What isn't taken up and used by plants settles into the soil. Okay, but when you get a rainstorm, you get that water, and as it drains into the streams and rivers, carrying a lot of soil with it. If that soil has a large amount of extra nutrients in it, like, say, from farms and lawn fertilizers, it can end up feeding the other stuff in the water, often algae. This is what causes algal blooms. A lot of algae, fed by a lot of extra nutrients, actually ends up choking the water. Also, when that algae dies in such large numbers, because each individual algae doesn't live very long, decomposition removes oxygen from the water. Algae in large numbers can kill plants too, because even though plants breathe carbon dioxide, they do need some oxygen to function. If all the oxygen is gone, the plants will die too. So if you must use some chemical or fertilizer, only use it in a very short-term, very concentrated effort. Use these sparingly, if at all. Water as well. Only water your plants to get them started growing, or in a small garden if you do maintain a vegetable, fruit, or decorative garden. Leave your grass and native plants be. You'll save yourself a lot of work and a lot of money on water bills that way. Now, I studied issues like these working on my degree in environmental science, and I volunteered at my local nature center. And they did mention this website called Yard Map that has ideas for what you can do with your yard to make it a better wildlife habitat. I suggest you check it out. It's www.yardmap.org. If you want to ask me about a particular issue, leave a comment and I'll try to answer. If I don't know, I'll go do some research and then answer.